So the next presenter, moving on, we are beautifully on time, is Diego Barbosa. So Diego Barbosa is a Brazilian visual artist based in Tamaki Makaurau, which is the Maori name for our city here, Auckland. He has completed a bachelor in graphic design at Universidade do Estado da Bahia, or as we would say, the Estadual da Bahia, and honors in photography at Waikato Institute of Technology, resulting in the project Careta, Who Are You? His practice mainly focuses on symbolism, displacement, cultural identity, and hybridism. And his recent works have been exhibited at Rump Gallery, Never Project Space, in Auckland War Memorial Museum. Welcome, Diego. Good to see you. The stage is all yours, mate.
Kia ora, everyone. Thanks so much for everyone attending this presentation. Thanks so much, Marcos, for the introduction, and also Robert at AUT and Sergio at IMB Morumbi, and also the production team supporting us, like running the show behind the curtains there. I'm just gonna share my screen and start right away. So my project is a photography project. It's called Careta, Who Are You? And this is an expression that really takes me back from the start to my childhood, takes me back in time. And I remember like asking the caretas, who are you, like to find out if the person who was like under the costume was a friend or was someone I knew or someone I didn't know. And then writing to the ideas of cultural identity and resignification as well. On this project, this question sort of like changed or had added meanings to me, in the sense that it became also a question of who am I being this careta in a new place now, and also how can I process my perception of this unknown new land, new culture, new people, as a careta for me, in a sense, as this entity that can bring you gifts and can punish you, can be friendly and can also be scary, and most likely will be both at some point. So this is the idea, the ideas that this title and this project brings to me from the beginning. Let me just try to minimize the photos here so I can read. Yeah, cool. So this project, I made staged portrait photographs using selected aspects of Brazilian symbolism to explore representations of culture and identity. So representation, staging and character-driven representation, using props and ideas of playfulness, strangeness, anonymity, and identity, and also displacement. For the costumes, the main ideas were the repurposing and customization of objects and materials, and reference to Brazilian symbolism. For the lighting, I went after mixed colors and temperatures of light, blending natural and artificial lights. For the composition, contrast character and environment to enhance displacement. and also through color, textures, background, and gesture. When I was searching for location, I was searching for locations that could look familiar, and then having the character there, it would seem displaced or have a sense of displacement to someone viewing the photographs. The symbolism was based on Brazilian popular culture and ideas of Carnivalesque, and also the archetypes of the caretas, which were identified with especially the archetype of the trickster. And cultural significance, it was a project that I tried to investigate the cultural translation, displacement, and the representation of cultural identity, especially with the ideas of Hall, Rufino, and Homi Baba. So in this project, my main reference or my base reference were the caretas from the region of Recôncavo, da Bahia. The manifestation of the caretas, it has a few different origin versions. One is something that, or sort of like a ritual that can be used to protect oneself. Also, it is related to a manifestation that can be used to scare enemies in situations of danger. And just a minute. In situations of danger, and then through anonymity, also something that can be used to challenge oppressing conditions and in oppressing situations. The cultural meaning of the Careta manifestation has to do with the contact with the divine, and then it also has this idea of identity counter narratives, using this manifestation to create new representations and have its connections with carnivalesque representation. So these are some, for people who are not familiar with, these are some representations of caretas. This is from the city of Muritiba, no Recôncavo. This is from probably around 2019. And then it comes in many different forms. Each city, some are from Macupe de Santo Amaro. And each city basically has some kind of specific tradition in how they represent the caretas. These are also a few more from Macupe de Santo Amaro, and then other kinds of caretas from Salbara. So caretas is really sort of like an umbrella category for this kind of representation, where people dress in costumes during the manifestations or the festivities that are related to the Carnival and some Catholic holidays. So my research questions were, what are the codes and conventions of stage portrait photography? And what strategies and values will be used in photography to represent ideas of Brazilian culture and symbolism through the caretas manifestation? And what correlated values will be used to create a body of photographs and present the project to the audience? So to start, I looked at the work of a few photographers as the reference, starting with Ralph Eugene Mitya, especially the series the family album of Lucibel Careta, and how he deals with stage costume allocations, having these characters in sort of like familiar locations, but then creating the sense of displacement through the masks and gesture. And then the Brazilian photographer Adenor Gondim. Adenor Gondim, it's more on the documental side. And then he photographs these manifestations, especially on street. So he was a reference to me regarding props and symbolism and gesture, and also how the people presenting or people participating on these manifestations would like to present themselves to the camera. Okay. So I'll just sorry, just because I can't see my mouse arrow, so I'm trying to click on things here.
You work it, Diego.
Go.
So, but now we are back on the same slide again.
Go. Right. I was just checking the chat because I saw there was like a few messages, but I couldn't see what they were talking about. So cool, we're back. And then also Latin American photographer, Diego Moreno. So his work relates like more closely to the manifestation of caretas. And then he has very similar costume, and we can see how this manifestation sometimes like in a way like crosses boundaries or communicates throughout different cultures. And then I looked at him for costume, the relation between location and character, and also lighting. Cristina de Midel, also a photographer, especially in her book called Midnight at the Crossroads, where she explores the idea or the myth of Exu through different diasporic cultures, I guess, from Caribe to Brazil, and then how Exu as a trickster is represented in each of these places. So I looked at her work regarding symbolism, also the relation between location and character, framing, and post-production as a reference to how I would treat my own photographies. And then Bill Holderfield was a reference to me in the sense of the street environment, I guess, and the color temperature and contrast in this environment. In a way, this work was made in Hamilton back in 2020, this project. And then in a way, especially these photos remind me of Hamilton streets at night, and then the kind of lighting I would see there, and the mixture between the inside light, indoor lights, and the blue lights of the sky, the blue lights of the sky outside, the contrast between blue and yellow, and things like that. So visually, it was very similar to what I was seeing around me back then. And then also Vinicius Xavier, which is this great photographer from Bahia that explores themes especially related to African Brazilian culture in Bahia, from more documental representations as the Caretas do Acu photo on the left, but also exploring the representation of entities related to Candomblé as in the Lebara series, using just contemporary props combined with this more mythological imagery or representation of entities to create this resignification, I guess, or this new symbolism. So cool. Given that the methodology of the process was go after the staged portrait, having framing, gesture, myself as a character, and the use of props as the base for the representation, selecting these locations that were familiar or recognizable or had recognizable elements to emphasize the strangeness and displacements of the characters I was creating, and subject selection, especially anonymity, which is a strong characteristic of the Caretas, I think. And then having myself as a character or using someone else, that was part of the exploration process of the work. Lighting composition, emphasizing character, suggesting plainness, strangeness, using texture and colors. Costumes and props, having the intentional use of colors, fabrics, and objects to enhance cultural symbolism. And a few design principles for the project, which was repurposing and customizing materials and referencing cultural meaning and context, the cultural meaning and context of the manifestation, the original manifestation. And then post-production was basically like enhancing light and color contrast to emphasize the intention present in the photographs and try to do minimum retouching, have everything ready in the scene as, in a way, in a reference to what will be like a more documental. As these manifestations happen on the street during festivities there, I was trying to bring a little bit of this in the moment energy, I guess, to the project. The cultural frameworks were these Brazilian popular culture manifestations and how it related or how it was mixed with the European Carnivalesque form. And the project values was the character concepts, which I explored and created 3 characters for the project. And then ideas of double meaning or multiple meanings and displacement. During the project, welcoming unpredictability in a sense that I would adopt, and I can talk a little more about it coming up. Just welcome and adopt unpredictable things or change and during the photographies and during the making of the costumes, and then also use, discard, and repurposed materials and objects. So these were the very early stages of the process. Most of this project was made during lockdown here in New Zealand. So this was when we were locked at home, and then I luckily had like a spare room and a few random things. Some of the objects I brought with me from Brazil, of course, but also I had some like fabrics and just stuffs and hands and stuff that I would just try to assemble into a sort of costume and trying to just transform what they were for and then bring them to life as a character in a way. So this shows a little bit of the work at Wintec and a few sketches of the first costumes. This is version 2 of the project, where I used some other elements that I could find, especially in op shops, and then combining this with some craft work and then creating these costumes that would have references to local elements, but also combine that and transform that and bring references from Brazilian culture. And then I started like experimenting with gesture and then how to present this character to camera. The elements of playfulness, how I could create a sense of playfulness, of strangeness through the photographs. This was all, yeah, during lockdown pretty much. And then going forward, we're getting to the final version of the costumes, where I then developed this internal narrative in the project, and then created these 3 characters that would interact and kind of tell a story themselves of this whole process of cultural crossing, I guess, and then adopting these new references and then transforming them into something that would relate to my own culture. So these are photos from my studio at Wingtech, and then some backstage photos from when I was building the costumes. And then the first test in studio shots, trying to define which props to use and what was their effect on camera. This is the second costume. And then this third costume. So yeah, just a few more experiments. In this case, the photo at left, at some point, I was exploring the idea of having other people wearing the costumes as well. So in Hamilton, I had a great help from Maya, which is a Brazilian actress and performer, singer. And then with her, I explored ideas of how I could tell this story of this character coming to New Zealand and what kinds of interactions, in a way, good or bad, and this idea of this duality and ambiguity of the relation. And then this is just a short video that shows a little bit of how I'll do the photo shoot process. This is the photo shoot. I would try to sort of mimic the idea of performance, as if I was like on the street and then doing a performance in front of the camera and then trying to capture moments of this performance and then select them later and then turning them into an essay, like a photographic essay. Just play it. Cool. And then this is leading more to the final photos and final experimentations with the costumes. Different locations in Raglan, in the house I was living back in Hamilton, and trying to find symbolic elements that would be strange, I guess, to a viewer in New Zealand, but would also bring like some references to local Bahia or Brazilian culture to someone from Brazil seeing these pictures and trying to create this relationship of displacement and different meanings depending on who is seeing the photograph. So during the process, I did this Instagram. The production team will send the links and send a few other documents that they will share with you. And then this Instagram documents the whole process of making the costumes and photographing, making the frames, following the principles of the project of repurposing and reusing material. I also made the frames at Wintech workshop. So using just pallets, I would just like prepare the pallets and then assemble them into frames. And that was the base that made the exhibition, the final exhibition. And here is the final selection of photos and the outcome of this project. And then just trying to create some kind of connection and then internal narrative inside the series of photos to tell it, sort of tell the story of these characters coming to life here in New Zealand. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Diego. Really impressive work.
Oh, it goes quickly.
Yeah, you always go like that, and it's interesting, and it's terrible to be the one controlling time. It's just like to make everybody fits in the same space. I was really impressed with your work, Diego, and for something I think I don't know if we discussed that, but in some reason, I I don't know if because you are from Bahia or because I can see quite some interesting, I don't know, connection with the work of Miguel Rio Branco. Do you
Yes,
know?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's true. I think some of the work of Miguel Rio Branco happened in the popular marketplaces there, right? And then I think the marketplace is just like this huge influence in popular culture in Bahia. I guess Salvador has this massive and super famous street market, which is Feira de São Joaquim, where actually like many of those objects came from. So I guess like visually and in terms of color and the sort of like chaotic composition or the chaotic identity, I guess, the popular street markets there, which are present in Miguel Rio Branco work, is just like massive influence.